Welcome to the Outdoor Biz Podcast, your home for inspiring conversations with outdoor insiders. Each week, author, speaker, adventurer, and outdoor industry veteran Rick Saez talks in depth with iconic brand founders, sales and marketing pros, product designers, and industry rising stars. Listen in when Rick's guests offer actionable advice to land your ideal industry gig and grow your outdoor career. Catch us again when the conversation shifts to the hottest outdoor products, destinations, and the latest industry insights. And now, here's Rick.
Welcome to episode 317 of the Outdoor Biz Podcast with my longtime friend and colleague Chad Kelly, brought to you this month by SmugMug. Chad began his outdoor career in retail, then joined Mike and Sue Sullivan at the Sullivan Agency as a rep with brands like Eagle Creek and Officio, and now is the president at eVent Fabrics. Welcome to the show, Chad.
Hey, Rick. Hey, thanks for the invite. Happy to be part of this.
Yeah, good to be chatting with you. This is going to be fun. We've got a little bit of outdoor experience together in our Eagle Creek years, so I'm sure we'll get into that. But let's start off with telling everyone your very first outdoor experience or adventure experience. What was that like?
Yeah, sure. I like a lot of folks our age, we spend a lot of time outside. So I can't really remember my first experience, but I do have a fond memory, which probably launched me into this industry. I was on a ski trip with my parents, and we were in Breckenridge. This is back when Breckenridge was like one street, not a little metropolis. But I remember I took my dad up on there's some bowl there. I think it's on Peak 8, and it was steep and probably above our level. But I have a fond memory of skiing that thing with my dad, and it was. I got a lot out of it. The adrenaline part kind of juiced me up for skiing, but that's probably my strongest memory of.
That's a good one.
Of being outdoors. But
did you guys do a lot of outdoor stuff as kids in addition to ski? Did you camp and stuff?
Yeah, we didn't do a whole lot of that. I was pretty involved in sports and stuff like that, but the ski trips were the family activity. Did a few times a year,
cool.
And so that was
that's a good one.
Probably most.
You got the adrenaline of being on that challenging run. You got the adrenaline of, okay, I don't want to kill Dad. You got all that stuff.
Well, yeah. The funny thing is I don't think he skied much with me after that. So that was, I was probably 7 years old or something. So it shouldn't have been up there anyway. But
yeah.
It was good fun.
He figured, okay, I can't keep up with this kid. You're on your own, kid. Have fun. So how does a guy with a degree in government get into the outdoor industry?
Yeah, so I'd studied that kind of political science thing, and I had through college, I was an intern in D.C., so I was on this political path. Left college, and then I continued on a little bit. I drove a guy around the state of Kansas who was running for governor. So it was just he and I. So it was good experience. I thought I was on this right path, and because kind of as life turns out, that path after he was elected fizzled out, and I ended up looking for a job, and I ended up at an outdoor store in Kansas City. Okay. And it was a store called the Alpine Hut, which is no longer around, but it was a pretty strong, pretty good store in the Midwest. Yeah, that's how I kind of got into it.
Interesting. So you didn't offer a job when he got elected. That's interesting.
It was probably a life lesson for me a little bit. So without getting into too much detail, this gentleman who was a great guy who became the governor, he had a couple people on his staff that were his key folks. And I happened to be aligned with one of the guys who didn't make the final cut. So when that guy dropped out, so did a few of us. And I was too naive at the time to just realize I could just call this guy who became the governor and said, hey, remember me? I drove you around the state for 3 months.
Yeah.
What do you got for me? And I didn't do that. And I think that now in hindsight, it demonstrated I wasn't that passionate about it.
Yeah. That's true.
I wasn't able to make the move. It didn't make sense to me at the time that I should have done that. So,
and interesting that you pursued the Alpine. What would your skiing experience and all that? Just decided that I'm just going to go work outdoor retail and see what that's all about.
Yeah. Quite honestly, I wish I could tell you I had a direction, like there was an intention there.
Well, it was more of none of us did that those days.
It was a passion, and I enjoyed that. I probably had some friends that hung out with it that were involved somehow, and that led me, to work there. So then I was just a retail, kid on the retail floor, but I enjoyed it, enjoyed the culture.
It's a great experience. Yeah, I tell a lot of people, if you can start in retail, you really get the top to bottom education that way. That's what I started too. Yeah. Did you meet Mark Matthews there, or did you meet him with the Sullivan Agency?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I met Mark.
Okay, yeah.
Mark was in town also in Kansas City area, so I probably crossed paths with him. But he worked with me at the Sullivan Agency.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
So yeah, Mark and I have been friends for a long time.
Yeah. And you were with the Sullivan Agency, for
about 5 years.
And those were the growth years for all the brands you guys repped. I remember we worked together when I was at Eagle Creek, and that was the heyday. A lot of brands were just ripping.
Yeah, I was lucky. There's a lot of timing.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of luck and timing. And I had a position opened up with Mike Sullivan's group, and it was the right progression from being a retail kid to becoming a buyer at that store. And so next step was let's go try the rep thing. And I got so lucky to be able to work in the Sullivan Agency for Mike and his wife, and then with a crew of other guys like Mark Matthews and a few other folks who are just good guys and smart. And it became this pretty strong little crew. And I'd like to think Mike Sullivan was probably the most influential person in my
He's like an uncle to all of us, isn't he? He's such a great guy. Yeah,
great guy. And he had his approach was always so good. He's just retired, right? I think he left the industry a year or two ago, but his approach was a great learning experience for all the guys who worked for him. He's a guy who didn't talk a lot, but when he did, he said something either prolific or profane. It was like I should say mildly profane.
Prolific, profane, or hilarious.
But it was always good. It was always insightful. And we used to sit around and listen to him have in conversations in those sales meetings with Eagle Creek and all the other brands we had. And I was learning from a guy who really understood how to take care of the customer, how to negotiate, how to all that. He was thoughtful. And then from a boss perspective, he was a great boss. Took care of us and his wife. I can't leave her out. They took care of us and we all grew. Working for him. So
I agree. I was so excited to hire him and work with you guys, and it was great going down there and calling on Holler Provisions and all those accounts. And I stayed at their house. Mike and Sue were great hosts, and even just sitting in the airports, we would travel up to Cabela's or wherever it was, and we'd be sitting in Denver airport having a drink, and he'd be pontificating about something, and you just always get these little nuggets about business and about life, and it's just one of a kind.
Yeah. That's for sure. That's for sure.
I'll have to make sure he knows we're talking about him. I'll let him know that this is going to, he can listen if he wants.
Yeah.
And
could be dangerous.
Yeah, could be. Could shut the podcast down. I doubt it though. And then how'd you get involved with eVent?
Yeah. So my territory was with the Sullivan Agency. I started out in the Central South. So I was like Texas and Louisiana. That's where the spot was open. And then as my family grew, I'm from the Kansas City area. So the opportunity, the person left in the north. So Mike and Sue Sullivan let me move back up to Kansas City and cover the north side of the territory. So I did that for a short time. And then I'd made some other folks in town that were already involved in the outdoor industry in some way. And some guy started teasing me with this idea, this new waterproof, breathable material that was air permeable. And I know that I'm sure the folks in the industry who are involved in this kind of thing know what I'm talking about. But at the time, the waterproof product was waterproof, but you put it on and we always complained about Jack's
waterproof and sweatable.
Sweaty and so these guys had a pretty novel approach to that. So they created this unique membrane that air can pass through and it's still waterproof. And so that caught my eye. So I thought, this is early days on this thing. I could jump into something maybe a little risky because it really was barely off the ground. And I was, again, right place, right time. I was pulled in to be the first sales guy.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's kind of
and you've been there a while. Now you're managing 3 different global businesses. What's that like? You've moved up the chain. It's probably good because you haven't been there so long, all the ins and outs from the start. So that's good. That set you up pretty well.
Yeah. There's actually more to the story since that episode. So I worked through eVent, first sales, then worked into the product side, and then eventually worked into a management role. And this is the time when eVent has had the luxury or disappointment of being part of several large industrial companies that were bought and sold.
Okay.
So eVent was part of this. And through path, I eventually became sort of commercial director for these 3 different businesses, eVent being one of them. And so there's some trials and tribulations related to that.
I can imagine.
But a year ago, right when COVID started, actually, we bought the business and pulled it away. So eVent is now its own its own company.
Okay, gotcha.
So that's exciting.
The other three were Aspire, Filtration, and Transweb. Now those are no longer part of the.
Yeah, so those are part of the previous company. So they weren't. My heart wasn't in Aspire and Transweb. Of course, eVent it's always been, but
sure.
Those other businesses were good for me. One, it diversified my knowledge of materials.
Yeah,
of course, Aspire business. So that's a business that does fine filtration, electronics, medical devices, and stuff, and uses membranes for that. Mm-hmm. And then the Transweb one was electric melt blend, which is the kind of stuff you use in face masks, like N95 masks, stuff like that. Uh-huh. Yeah, so I was part of that. And at some point in time, quite honestly, working for the big company, I started sliding away from the outdoor industry, where my kind of passions were. Right. And I realized that it's time for me I got to figure out a way to stay connected. And that's when we made the move with an investment group out of Asia to buy the eVent brand.
Cool.
And separate it from did that about a year ago, a year and a half ago now.
Very exciting. So that's a fantastic experience. What kind of products use eVent? Is it apparel or anything that needs a waterproof membrane?
Yeah, most we're involved in outerwear, footwear, and accessories. So yeah, outerwear for sure, footwear, outdoor stuff, and accessories, gloves, and dry bags, things like that. And we feed that product into outdoor ski, hunting, fishing. Mm-hmm. Cycling, military applications in certain places, things like that. So, we've business all around the world doing that. So it was
particularly work through the factories, or do you work directly with the brands?
We work directly with the brands. That's what the team's focused on, and the goal is to be normal sales path, right? We want to gain, and we want these brands to utilize our technology, which we believe is great, and we provide a supply chain. Mm-hmm. We've got a pretty vast supply chain, so we can plug those customers into our supply chain to get the products going.
And are you going after replacing someone else, or are you going after augmenting someone else to give them a different price point product or a different feature driven?
A little bit of both. Yeah, we do bring a different technology story to, and that's just that whole air permeable thing.
Right.
Since we do have the neat position of being the first company to introduce air permeability to this whole waterproof sector. And so we carry that story through. And obviously some brands really appreciate that and value that feature benefit story. And so that we approach it that way in those cases. But we have a vast product line, so we can also replicate other technologies that are out in the market as well for those customers who want a more traditional route.
Yeah, I remember when you made that switch. I remember seeing you up there in the fabric aisle, and you walked me through the products. Like, that's pretty cool, but it's pretty new. But here it is.
Yeah,
you pulled it off. That's awesome. What have been some of the challenges along the way?
Oh, along the way, let's see. I think that there's probably two key challenges that come to mind real quick. One is I mentioned that one's a challenge in eVent's history, and that's the brand. The business was owned by these big industrial companies, and General Electric was one of them. A company called Clarcor, and then Parker Hannifin. So these are big companies with their own
massive the numbers of divisions, and yeah,
their DNA is pretty strong on their own right. So
right.
and so the challenge for those years with eVent was to maintain eVent's DNA throughout that time period. I'd be a little Jekyll and Hyde. I'd be an outdoor industry guy, and then I'd have to practically put a tie on and be corporate guy. And that was a difficult era for trying to grow something, which was also the impetus for getting eVent out of those companies on its own. That was for sure a challenge. That was about every 6 years I faced that challenge when the parent company was bought and sold.
Oh God.
But
I imagine, yeah.
But I think the more relevant challenge is the kind of one the industry's facing now. And that's, from my perspective, the lines are becoming blurred between technology, supply chain, brand, retailer, consumer. Mm-hmm. There used to be, it seems there used to be pretty defined sandboxes. Each of these sort of components or stages along the process.
Yep.
And those lines are blurred now. And it creates a challenge probably for everybody along the way in a different way. Technology perspective, We used to focus on telling our technology story, providing a technology into the supply chain for the brand to use. But really now we have to explain and tell that message all the way to the consumer. And that's been evolving over time. But now it feels like it's a big blurry mess. So I think that's a challenge for a lot of folks at different stages. I believe that's our current challenge.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, because it is very blurred, and there's a lot of great stories that used to get told. That's why I tell everybody, and a lot of people that have come on the show tell everybody, that your best way to get into the business is start at retail, because that's where you get to interact with the reps, and you learn about the product, you learn about the technology, you get to interact with the consumer, and you find out what the consumer wants and looking for, and you get to live the lifestyle. But now that has completely shifted, because I don't know. Do you guys go around and do clinics to retail stores?
We don't any longer. We
Interesting.
did.
Yeah.
About 5, I'd say that stopped about 5 or 6 years ago. There's probably still some room for it, but of course the number of retailers has, unfortunately, brick and mortar dropped off. And I think the challenge was, even within the stores that we did cover, the staffing was shrinking, and
and they were busier. They're trying to get time. They didn't want to close the store and do a clinic. They didn't want to waste. They didn't want to pay the people time to do that. We have things to do. We got to clean the store. We got to put product out. We got to sell product. Blah 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 blah. Yeah, no, it's changed a lot.
Yeah, a different space. There's always a flip side to the challenge, and that's we're all looking for that. How do we take advantage of the situation? For goal for get more people wearing an event.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And sustainability is a key theme right now. How are you guys addressing that?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, this one's been coming on for a long time, right?
Yeah, right.
But it's had its fits and starts, it seems. But it looks like we're in the throes of it now.
I think we're in the fourth quarter, that's for sure, because there's more people and the planet ain't growing, so we got to do something.
That's right. So, but when eVent was part of Parker, I started working on a product, a different technology platform that was not based on what eVent has been based on traditionally. So we've got a bio-based product that we're pretty proud of.
Cool. That
we're launching. Unfortunately, we launched it during COVID, which is a terrible time to launch anything.
Yeah, terrible or good. I don't know. It's 50-50.
Well, there wasn't a lot of...
Tough time to get out there and get the message across, that's for sure, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. But it's a neat opportunity, and that's one of the things about it's nice with our eVent's new position being separate from those big corporations or privately held, industry-owned, and pretty, hyper-focused on growing this thing in the industry. And now we can add multiple platforms of technologies into the portfolio. And the bio-based membrane, eVent Bio is the first one. We have a couple more coming, actually. So we are in an evolution process right now.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's most definitely exciting. Every day is a new day, new learnings and new experience. So we're pretty excited about it.
We're going to take a little break and give some love to our sponsor. I've heard from some of you photographers out there that you've always wanted to sell your photos online. Well, SmugMug makes it easy. With a few clicks, you can start selling prints and digital downloads right away. They handle everything from billing to shipping and work with some of the best labs in the world. RickSayesPhotography.com has been with SmugMug for over 20 years, and they've handled every transaction flawlessly. Go to ricksayes.com/sellphotos and try it for free. To set up your account today, go to ricksayes.com/sellphotos. Now back to the show. COVID slammed shut all the trade shows. You guys must have gone to all the outdoor related trade shows, right? And that's slowed down. Are there any other non-outdoor segments that you sell? Medical?
No, we do. During COVID, we were supplying product to drapes and gowns business. And, like a lot of people were, and a lot of the supply chain was. So our membranes were effective in that application. So I've kind of kept us pretty focused. The goal is, and I have that experience from companies we work for, is sometimes it's really hard. It's really hard to keep yourself focused on what you do.
Yeah.
And when something's slow, you want to...
Nope, lost you there. Hello?
In that sort of non-strategic diversification or whatever you call it.
Yeah, you cut out a bit there. Tell me when something's slow, you want to start.
Yeah, when your core market slows down, your first inclination is to go find. You see another path that looks greener, and and the risk, it seems, is that you can head down that path and lose track of what your core is. And when you come back, to your core, you realize that you're no longer, maybe that's no longer core. So,
yeah,
we really,
they forgot about you.
Yeah, that's right. So we've not left our original and kind of intention of eVent, right? We're still focused on the hardcore users, and we're still focused on, the providing the comfort, the brand, all that stuff that we have for a long time. But I'd say, it's not uncommon, and we don't really promote it. Event materials will show up in other markets that are not part of apparel. We just don't usually promote those.
Yeah, you have to circle the wagons and pick your spots, and while you're paying attention to the core, you're not going to turn down any opportunity that looks good, and just you don't have a lot of time to invest to it. So
that's right.
It happens organically, or it doesn't. So that's smart. I think that's good. Yeah. Let's shift gears a little bit. Do you still get outside much?
I do.
Good.
I say much. So
well, much is a key term.
Yeah. I do. I'm an avid cyclist. I'm a roadie, right? I started.
You got plenty of flat roads to ride out there.
I'd say it's not so flat, and it's not without wind, but the cycling community is pretty strong here, and so I ride to work occasionally. So that's kind of relief. And then of course when the snow falls, I take every chance I can get to ski, and usually a lot of times around the shows that used to be at OR or in Europe. I still have a strong passion for that. So that's what I can get done.
That's cool. And your family rides?
Rides? No, they think it's crazy. I think, it's dangerous and crazy. And I think every time I come down the stairs, with my tight cycling kit on, they all just laugh, shake their head.
Typical kids. Everybody go, look, what's Dad's doing? What? That's nuts.
Yeah, that is crazy.
Mom could do it and it'd be hot. Dad does it? What the heck? Yeah.
That's right.
That's pretty funny. Do you have any suggestions or advice for folks wanting to get into the outdoor industry?
Yeah. Yeah, certainly. You know what? Well, I can only reference my experience, but I think there's some strong value, and you mentioned it too about where you came from. It's easy for some of the younger people they get out of school, they've got this trade that these skills that they've learned in school, and they want to jump into a high paying, role in one of these companies. But I'm not sure that's always the smartest path. I think starting from the bottom is ultimately you'll add more value to the company you're working for. I think, like, we started at retail, and I think, like you've seen in your career, you've worked to the point of where you're in management, and because you knew everything along the way, and that's still hugely valuable.
I agree.
But patience, that's something that's hard to come by. Patience and willing to start on the bottom is maybe those are luxuries, right?
Yeah, well, it could be. Yeah, it was a different world then. Yeah, I didn't think of it that way.
Yeah. Eating mac and cheese and spending my weekends rock climbing was all that I did.
Yeah.
But now I think that's probably for the folks that we bring on, that we look at that. We look to see where they came from and do they have experience at retail or getting their hands dirty, sleeping on the ground. That's important for us.
Yep. So, do you guys have any internship program?
Currently, we don't. And this is only because we're a year old. But the places that we're most interested, probably the marketing side is a more challenging spot. And I think that's a place where some of the younger folks with different experiences and communication styles is the places we look first. It's part of our plan in the near future, but we're not quite there yet.
Cool. Yeah, got to block and tackle first before you get all the fancy programs.
Yeah, that's right.
If you were able to hang a huge banner at the entrance to one of the outdoor shows, what would it say?
How many times have I walked up to the front of a trade show, one of the halls? Probably 200 times or something.
I'm sure.
More than that. It's silly, but I'm going to type a couple things in here. But what I think is I love to see is you're sitting in those bars, like in a small town bar, and they have those old beer signs that are plastic and faded, and they're some guy with blowing a fly rod and fly line out and whatever. It says Schlitz sold here. I think it would be.
Schlitz, that's a good old brand too.
Yeah, it is. I drink it still, oddly enough. I found it in the store. So, right. But I like it. I think it would be just hilarious to see, a big sign, retro sign like I said, eVent sold here, and with I don't know if that's only makes me smile. It's probably
that sounds pretty cool. I can see a good artist to do a kind of a cool graphic behind that. I like it.
Yeah.
And a lot of that stuff, a lot of the marketing and signage and verbiage it all circles back around. So it's coming back to a lot of the stuff that we saw in our early days. So it's interesting how that works. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. So other than writing, do you have any other daily routines to keep your sanity?
That's
a good one.
Exercise is critical for sure. But I found, and I think this is not novel or anything, spending time with friends and family and laughter and stuff is I feel like that's when you really realize your brain is separated from work. And when I'm writing, I'm still thinking, about what some challenge or some opportunity, whatever. But yeah, those thoughts seem to totally fade away when you're just having fun, laughing and carrying on. And I think that's a good one. Those opportunities.
That's a good one. Yep. I don't think that's ever come up before. That's a really good one. You're right. When you are riding or walking or exercising, you're constantly, or a lot of us anyway, are thinking about work related stuff. Not 100% of the time, but if you're out with friends having beers or sitting around a campfire, that stuff's all gone. It's all stories and fun. And that's awesome. Mm-hmm. That's good. What's your favorite outdoor gear purchase under $100?
Oh, the first maybe two things come to mind. I'm still a sucker for wool socks. I was part of the Smart Wool. That was one of our lines when Smart Wool was just being launched. And so at that point, I became addicted to that kind of merino wool socks. I wear those. They have a lot of product offering now, right? I wear wool socks every day, all the time. And then something else I just bought, oddly enough, there's a product, and this is a bike related thing. So the little pouch that fits under your seat to hold your some tools, a spare tube, or whatever you've got. There's a product called Outby. It's called Outby Possum, is what it's called, and it's this cleverly designed little pouch that fits under your seat, but it's super cool because it had plenty of flat tires. But so when you're sitting out there in the middle of nowhere, you pop this thing open, it's like a toolkit pops down. Anyway, it's a trick little product, and I picked one of those up a few months ago. And
cool. Haven't heard of Possum. Outby? Is it Outby?
Outvi is the brand name.
Gotcha.
Yeah, small little operation. So the product's pretty cool designed, and it's always, you notice good design when, like, it seems when you really need it.
Yeah.
Right. It's like when you buy it, so that looks cool, but when all of a sudden you're stuck, like for me, out at 20 miles south of Kansas City in the farm. Oh crap, I'm in trouble here.
Yeah.
But now I'm thinking this is well designed. Huh. So anyway,
I'll look that up. We'll link to that in the show notes. I haven't heard of that. That sounds pretty cool. As we wrap up, is there anything else you'd like to say to our listeners or ask?
Oh, good. No, but I appreciate what you've got going here.
Yeah,
this
thanks.
Is pretty neat. I've been listening to them as well. I hope I've provided some interest or insight.
A lot of insight, a lot of inspiration.
Entertainment.
Yep, entertainment. Yeah. Nope, it's all good. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's super fun. A lot of us work together. I've worked with so many people in the business that it's great to just share their stories, because I think you guys all have unique paths and unique stories and a lot of advice and inspiration. So that's awesome. Yeah. If people want to follow up, how's the best way for them to reach you?
Yeah. So we're events available on look for eVent Fabrics on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all the standards. And of course, info at eVent Fabrics on our website. The easiest way to find us.
Awesome. We'll put that in the show notes.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, great. No, thank you. Thanks, Chad. It's been great catching up with you. And
likewise.
We'll have a beer at the next trade show whenever that happens.
Yeah, that'll be great. Hopefully. Talk to you soon.
All right, take it easy.
All right. Thanks, Rick.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of the Outdoor Biz Podcast. Be sure to visit our website, theoutdoorbizpodcast.com, where you'll find show notes with links to everything we talked about and more. Subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts so you'll never miss an episode. And while you're at it, if you found value in this show, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes. Or spread the word and tell a friend about the show. That would really help us out too. Be sure to tune in every week. And thanks again for listening to the Outdoor Biz Podcast with Rick Saez.